Damn, son, where'd you find this?
3 days remain.
What? What do you mean? Arbiter, what is that? What? Arbiter, what?
Begin again.
Oh no!
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. So, in a surprise, we have a new Revenant build to talk about. Now, this is not a replacement build for the usual stuff that people, have been running on Revenant for an age now. He's a very, very good Warframe that gets used for some pretty specific things. But there is a new build due to Noko Subsume that I want to talk about that I think is important to have on hand should you be a Revenant with no real weapons to your name, and you need to just murder things with just normal Revenant stuff. So, we have a bunch of builds to talk about, but all the shards are going to remain the same for all the builds because there's pretty generic stuff on Revenant overall, and he doesn't really need any of them anyway. 2 red shards, both are ability strength. This is good for every single Revenant build. He always wants strength, no matter what you do. Other than that, I've got a casting speed shard. This is good for just lowering your vulnerability time, recasting your 2. Not needed, but nice. And then 2 parkour velocity, which is, of course, just for going fast, which is not needed, but really nice. With that, for Revenant, we have a lot of builds to go over. So the Nourish one is kind of like the general one that you're going to run all the time. The reason that this one gets run is because Energy Nexus plus Nourish is a ton of energy generation, allowing you to recast Mesmer Skin with no income at all of energy from any outside sources. Makes you just purely invincible all the time. Mesmer Shield makes its way onto here, so you can also use it as like a supporting build. Just very generic, very good for anything. You can swap out the aura to be whatever, corrosive projection, energy siphon, any given thing that you kind of want or need. Maybe you want like steel charge here for if you're doing a melee Revenant build. Really, you can do anything with it. The reason Dreamer's Bond is here is because for a while there was some health damage going through his 2, and this would make it so that that couldn't kill you whenever you were recasting your 2 because you can't die normally. And also you have like an arcane slot that is normally for just buffing up damage. In this case, it's for usually the Furus, for another 300% damage on that. But there's, primary versions of this and whatnot to get you where you need to go in terms of just being a toolbox that can be applied to really anything. That's what the Nourish build is for. The classic hasn't really changed much. Other than that, we have the Xata's build. This is just for weapons that have synergy with Xata's, like the Kuva Sobek, like I show in my Frost Prime builds video, just for blowing stuff up with Xata's with that like extra hit mechanic and all that. The Roar build is a little bit different in that this still has the flex slot, which in this case is being used for movement from consequence. But that flex slot is like kind of not a big deal, as the thing that Roar gets to do is not only do you get the huge damage bonus, which is, again, like Nourish, just a big, nice damage bonus for you to utilize. This is a larger damage increase that also works on your abilities, and this build allows you to use Reeve to instant kill enemies. Reeve does percentage damage that is multiplied by Roar. You can do Enthrall, Reeve, Roar, and anything that's vulnerable to that will just simply die. And then, of course, you still get all of the benefits of having Mesmer Skin going. Then there's the Pillage variation. This variation is a lot less useful. Of course, it is good for removing shields and removing armor, but that is less important currently than it has been in the past. So this build is like a bit on the not needed side, but these first 3 have some pretty distinct uses for Revenant. But none of these builds utilize his 4, which is what this build does. So this build utilizes, instead of his 3, we have Bright Bonnet. You could replace his 1 or his 3 with Bright Bonnet, but Bright Bonnet over this slot does have some unique advantages, which we're going to talk about. But otherwise, this build looks pretty fundamentally similar, right? You have some range on this build, which is unusual. You have way more strength than we normally have, and you're much less focused on duration, as a lot of the subsumes are the reason why you want that duration, and it's a lot less necessary on this build. We also are at a little bit higher efficiency than normal, but it's worth noting that the flex slot in this build is streamlined. You could just run Mesmer Shield here instead if you want to be able to support your team a little bit better. But I think the streamline is the better choice here overall. What is this build looking to do? So this build is a Dance Macabre DPS build. This is for just like clearing out maps using your 4. just very lazily spinning about the map and killing everyone, while Bright Bonnet provides you with 73% plus strength to go on top of the 367 we're at, and that's before Molt Augmented, so we are at 500% plus strength. And also, this is going to fix your energy economy. Dance is a pretty expensive ability. It's 20 energy a second. That's before it's in its boost mode. But Bright Bonnet can provide us 36 energy per pulse, and you can drop 2 Bright Bonnets, which means we have tons of energy income, and that can also pay for Mesmer Skin really, really easily. Much like how the Nourish build works, having 1 Bright Bonnet out basically is going to make your 2 completely free for the foreseeable. And you also get way more charges of Mesmer Skin, notably in this. Dropping Bright Bonnet and then turning on Mesmer Skin, you can get like 30 plus charges on this build if you want to be invincible for way, way longer than normal. So a lot less damage buffy and a lot more just focusing on dance here. With that, it is worth noting we are on Molt Efficiency. This just gives us a little bit more efficiency for our 4. This could also still option select out to be like a single target damage modifier, like precision, where you're like needing a weapon to kill this one specific guy, as dance is not good at that, but efficiency is not super, super necessary. With that, this is the build that we're going to be showing off. I've shown off like the Revenant stuff many, many times. He's just very generically good. No big explanation I think should be needed there, but dance should be new, as it were. So before we actually show off like the group of enemies, Bright Bonnet works by just throwing it out, and then you just get energy every time it pulses every 3 seconds. You can jump on it, and that will also cause it to pulse. Now, if you want to do the funny, you can do this, which is to use your 4 while jumping on the mushroom and to have the lasers go everywhere, and it's pretty hilarious. You can do this, and like it actually will hit a lot of enemies at a larger range, but it's super not necessary to play it that way. The main thing though is that as you're using your 4, you can use your 3. Your 3 is usable no matter what subsume it is while you are in your 4, just due to the way that it's been made. You can't do this if you put it over your 1. And a notable thing about this is that the Bright Bonnets, whenever you have thrown them during your 3, normally you're stuck in this 1 spin rate that you can see here. What happens whenever you do throw anything or use a subsume is you can actually just use like WASD and spin, and you will get higher rotation and thus higher damage output and more consistency across a group of enemies if you are doing the spin more manually as well as letting it spin normally. You can also unspin by going the other direction, spin slower and kind of more focus what you're doing. Not really necessary. You can just spin normally and have it work as it would against like any given group and like Steel Path and stuff. As the other thing that many people do not know about how his 4 works is that if you are taking damage, yes, even with Mesmer Skin on, this counts. The more damage you intake, the more damage your 4 will output. So you're basically a completely mobile Octavia 1, which is pretty good, especially when you have the ability to actually maintain it. So showing this against the enemies, I'm going to have it unpaused AI because them shooting me is going to make them take more damage. So we throw out our Bright Bonnets, all that good business, throw out this, and then turn on our 4. So them dealing damage to me is, of course, like a positive for me. You can hold left click to like boost the damage. And you'll note that I am like a little bit negative on energy whenever I'm boosting. But it's not too negative from the Bright Bonnets. Bright Bonnets have about a 20-meter radius on this build. You could also flex slot the Streamline into another range mod if you wanted that to be much, much larger. But generally, I find that you don't need to go too far from them, as you could just rethrow them if it's really a big problem for you. But yeah, everyone dead pretty quickly. This is without a synergy point. So, just like we showed in the Oberon video, using a Death Cube Tazzy build, we can have the Tazzacor inflict Viral. Viral is a big damage bonus. That does work on everything we're doing here. So a duplicate Death Cube build with the Tazzacor is pretty good for this. So we can increase the damage of our 4 very significantly, which makes it so that it's increasing also the damage that comes into us. The whole 9 yards, it just works. Yeah, throw our 3s out, throw our 2 on, throw our 4 on. Enemies will get primed with a Viral, and you can see the damage difference is pretty intense. It is a pretty big and immediate damage difference, and also this ability spends so much energy that you will always have like a swarm of Death Cube clones from Duplex Bond to be spreading that Viral around to basically every single enemy that spawns in, which is all really well and good. So it's just a great DPS ability, doesn't need you to use guns on Revenant. I still would suggest bringing something like the Miter to pop Nullifier bubbles, especially if you're like, you know, if you're going to be going against the Corpus and such, or like for single targets, you know, bring something like the Latum, because big bosses and stuff don't really care too much about this ability. But the damage of it scales to level cap because it also scales based on incoming damage, and that means it has the Zaku curve where the higher the enemy level gets, the faster they die, because their offense scales much more aggressively than their defense does. So with that, let's jump into Tav and Mushroom Dance. Do a little laser light show mushroom dance, the laser mushroom disco. The mushroom samba. Oh yeah, also I'm turning chat back on. Ciao, there you guys are. Yeah, the streamathon is still very much going. Ignore that the timer is now higher than the last video I posted. Stream's been up to no good, keeping this thing above 3 days pretty perpetually. We are on day 52 of the streamathon for anyone that's wondering on YouTube.
Scans show Grenier are harvesting Kuva nearby. Set off the alarms to draw them out, then steal their Kuva catalysts.
They also low ceilings with Noko's ability.
Have shut down the environmental systems, sending
Very funny.
life support capsules.
Throw him a 2-1, throw 4. I actually want this invisibility to end from my Parazon. Won't matter too much though. Oh, they're all getting over here. I mean, that's great for me. Realistically. I mean, I kind of want like a little bit more. I want them to be able to spawn behind me. Obviously, if you're murdering enough enemies, it's not a big deal one way or another. But you can see this is pretty good. Pretty just effective. You can still move forward and throw Bright Bonnets out. This actually might be like a little bit more of an idealized room for this, kind of. We have the upper balcony, which is a little problematic. The Xmas is a bit tougher.
Life support on the way.
The upper balcony is a little unideal. You do kind of want the enemies on like one same plane with you. So probably realistically, like going right in here would be ideal. You need to recast R2 sometimes. Having this slight height advantage lets me hit like both doors and everything. Obviously the turrets will also get hit by this and destroyed. This does also do object damage and can open boxes, if I remember correctly, as well. So that's kind of like a nice little additional for it to have. Yeah, disco spin, as it were. And we're almost on that 2-minute mark. We'll do like a little KPM check when we get there. Because this thing is usually not like, you know, as crazy as you can get with like buffed weapons and stuff, of course. But it is usually like 90 KPM or so. That's, oh, okay, we're at like 100 currently, but usually it's like 90 KPM or so. Usually it's not quite 100. You know, great positioning and stuff can help a lot. I think that our initial spawn helped a bit. But, you know, this is the bad ability we always subsume off of Revenant, of course. You have been able to do this for a while, but the mushrooms make it a lot more convenient. Previously, the way that you would do this is you actually don't need to build range. You do it with Dispensary with more duration, because Dispensary can just refill your whole energy pool like instantaneously with Equilibrium. So the build was a little bit different, but the same principles were in order. Yeah, the extra spin thing you can use to like DPS on some enemies should you so choose.
Support capsule is now available.
You can kind of see like that tick like a little more on like the turrets there. And of course you can always like fly into groups and then like, you know, because your energy's not going to run out like right away whenever you leave your mushroom area, right? Especially if you're not like also getting kills. Throwing our 2 back on. We're at 29 stacks of that, which is quite nice. It's worth noting that because the damage you take in influences the damage you put out. If you have a Jade Xmas, a Jade Xmas can send you to like millions of damage very, very quickly. The enemy's being a little bit more coy about coming towards me. Probably could try and find a better room than we have now with this setup. 4 minutes, basically 400 kills though. So getting closer to that 90 KPM that I mentioned. Just for funnies, let's do this. Oop. Bounce. Just for laughs. You see the hilarious energy generation if you're doing this, and how much, like, just how much you can generate up. This will also hit the enemies on the upper balconies, which is pretty funny if you just want to make this happen. In terms of killing Malice, it's going to be fine. It'll be okay at doing so once Malice gets down here. Malice putting the orb on us actually is like a damage boost for us because it lets the enemies actually... It's better for them to be able to hit us. But obviously Malice can't do much about R2. Violence is the threat to Revenant, as is normally the case. But yeah, it's just, if you wanted to DPS with Revenant's abilities, you can do so. We're like 450 kills now, which is that like 90 KPM I mentioned. So we are goofing off a little bit.
Life support has been replenished.
And this tile, actually very similar to the no-co video, is just not great for the enemies actually getting to you. See if we can't find something a little better. Oh, this room's okay. Maybe able to pump those numbers up. You can see the travel's not too big a deal, and you do always have the option to just, like, you know, bounce. Oh, sometimes the ceiling can be in the way a little bit. If you're wanting to do it with your 4, of course. You see, like, the Xmas damage, not bad at all. This is without, like, the, like, aggressive spinning, of course. If we run over here... Enemies a little more access to us. Throw some 3s down. You see the Blitz Xmas hitting us. Increase our damage quite a bit there. You can see the increased damage like running like a constant ticker. It like goes up and then goes back down pretty quickly. See that burst, take it up to like 20k. And that's the thing that like that will scale out of control pretty fast at higher levels, which will simply kill the enemies. We considered Summoner's Wrath. The death cubes aren't really like doing damage to enemies. They're just there for like proccing viral and stuff. It is a much better tile for this overall. But like if you wanted like a more offensive companion, you could, I mean, you could do like Verglass death cubes if you just wanted them to focus on more single targets. Like that would probably be pretty good. Got any other builds for any other frames? I have builds for all the frames up on YouTube. Oh, like these grenades. Just hitting these grenades real quick. Yeah, we're like 8 minutes. What are we at? We're like 700. Yeah, so that like 90 KPM area. It's nothing too crazy, but it is just like an available thing for when you don't have weapons. Or even if you do and you just want it to be like, oh, let's just kill these enemies. Like you would spin through and exterminate like this if you wanted to. Be slow. Because you're not too particularly fast in your 4. It is worth noting that you can use the Okina Incarnon to speed up how fast you can like spin from enemy to enemy. Not usually super necessary, but it is a thing that you can do. You could also, if you only care about priming nearby enemies, you could swap Diriga in, as the death cubes going around and priming everyone can like also cause a distraction and cause them to get to you slower. But Diriga right around you would only be priming enemies that you're like going up to and like would ostensibly need the damage bonus on, I guess. But it certainly makes killing groups faster to have viral everywhere. Revenant superpowers immune to being dizzy? Perhaps. But yeah, little like map area dependent, but like just totally working. You can't jump out into operator while you're in his 4. Imagine if you could though. Be incredible. Yeah, the raw damage of this is like pretty good. It kind of just works. So yeah, the ability that we never use that's bad, right? That's what everybody always says. Yeah, almost at that about 90 kpm that I'd expect. Are messing around in that really bad kpm room, just like we did with Noko, really has affected us poorly, it seems.
Hold out as long as you can.
That's 10 minutes. We're at 900 though, so yeah. And then here's Mania to get absolutely shredded. But yeah, it's not anything insane, but if you wanted to use Revenant for like more of his abilities, you can do so. It's also worth noting, I should have shown it off here. Your 1 works on Acolytes, so like if Violence shows up, before he can nullify you, if you cast your 1 on him, then he can't do anything to you, you just get to shoot him. So that is a consideration as well. The Revenant's 4 work on RB drones? Ooh, I actually do not know if his 4 works on RB drones. It probably doesn't though. Most things like it do not.
So we learn the importance of clarity.
But yeah, if you wanted to use Revenant for something that is not all of the things we normally use him for that he's amazing at, there's another build that's available. There are also some other builds that are going to be using Noko's mushrooms, but they require a hotfix or 2 to come through. But then I'm going to be very excited to show those off. But yeah, that's a new Revenant build and also all the old Revenant builds that are all still very relevant. And that wraps up today's video. Thanks so much to all of the patrons for supporting the channels, especially our $10 plus patrons: Atheon, Alex Parnham, Arbiter Daydream, Inuvan, Brutus Salazar, Cano Lathra, Club World 3, Dylan Dworsky, Ithrain, Avon, James Harthorn, JC4 Science, Josh, Luzanth, Malagux Williams, Mark Smith, Mikakel, Minty Ginja, Michta, Nerve, Ruby, Sanyu, Skur, Sharp247, Tamrielic Wastelander, Tester ZWP, The Coupon of Death, Tomeworm, Victor Palmer, Waifu Wars About 01, and Zeraphir. And of course, all of the $5 and below patrons as well. You are all also, of course, much appreciated. We have a lot going on with the end of the year updates beginning, so expect to see a lot of videos about that as various rebalances and new content arrive. And of course, more videos if the streamathon ever ends.